Is Solgaleo EX the new best deck in the game to speed through ranked matches at lightning speed? When paired with other new Celestial Guardians cards like Lily or Rare Candy, this deck ends up being an absolute ranked monster. But I wanted to speed the deck up even more, so I tried ramping up the pace by including 2 copies of both Giovanni and X Speed. Coupled with 4 copies of Pokemon Tools, this allows for a lot of consistent turn 1 Skarmory attacks for 60 damage. Let me show you with an example match from my own ranking up that shows why I've kind of fallen in love with this playstyle right now. And the reason is because there's a bunch of decks hanging out right now in ranked who lead off with 60 HP basic Pokemon and are trying to find a rare candy, trying to do different kind of shenanigans. Sometimes they stumble, they can't really get anything started. Decks like some of the Rampardos decks, like these Litten focused decks that are trying to just rare candy out an Incineroar. So here's an example match from my Ultra Ball rank 3 climb with this deck. My opponent led out with a Litten, stumbled a little bit, wasn't able to find anything. Of course, on your first turn that you have, you can't use the rare candy. Meanwhile, I drew the exact cards I've been talking about in this video. I've got the Skarmory, put one of the 4 tools on it, was able to X speed out the Cosmog and finish him off with the Giovanni, and boom, there you go, there's a victory. Let's look at another example of this. I love these games. I've played probably around 20 matches or so far in Ultra Ball rank 3. I have a feeling I'm just going to take this all the way to Ultra Ball rank 4, just this one deck. And these matches I'm showing right now, I think I counted 5 of these matches I've had where I won on my first turn being able to attack. Opponent starts with a Gible. This is kind of a new variant of the Rampardos decks that people have been playing. Sometimes they like to play the Lycanroc version. Sometimes they play Gible to start with. As long as it's not a Chatot in front, they're going to start with this 60 HP Pokemon. Here, we started out with a relatively perfect opener, but we were missing a tool. We were running 4 tools. Boom. Drew the tool, put it on the Skarmory, energy it up. Giovanni, we even had the X speed just in case we needed to. And boom, my opponent instantly conceded. Now, I do want to go ahead and show you this version of the deck just to make sure you have all your options in case you want to run a Solgaleo deck, but maybe you don't like my hyper-aggressive version. Here's another list. This is a list that got 2nd place in one of the biggest tournaments in Celestial Guardians. Right off the bat, it was a 400-person tournament. This deck list got 2nd place. This is going to be more of your standard list. You'll notice a few differences. There's one Cosmoem. I skipped the Cosmoem, just going hyper-aggressive. There's also a Sabrina and a Cyrus. I am missing those. I would really like to have at least one of those 2 and probably one Sabrina. I was actually thinking about taking on X-Speed for one. You've also got a Mars. They're playing 2 Giant Capes. So this is going to be more of your trying to win consistently. It may have a higher win rate than the hyper-aggressive version I'm showing you. I'm just showing you a deck that if you want to have these crazy fun first turn victories when you get to attack the first time and just go crazy hyper-aggressive mode. But if you want to run a more traditional list, here you go. You might try something like this. Now, I'd like to finish this video by showing 1 or 2 quick matches against some of the meta decks running around right now that you're likely going to face a lot, and talk about the matchups a little bit in these games that I had. First match being against a standard Dark Tina list. Of the matches that I recorded, which was about 10 or so matches, I went up against this deck 4 times. So it is definitely out there quite a bit right now while I'm recording these games. And my record against it was 2-2, so split dead even. If you look at our start and what's going on here, we're kind of fumbling around here a little bit. Things aren't going so great. All we've got is 2 Cosmogs, so we can't get our early pressure. I feel like against this deck, I still really can't decide, to be honest. Let me know in the comments what you think if you like these Solgaleo decks. Do you think it's better to pretty much always start off with the Skarmory first, lead with that pressure with the Skarmory, and then try to finish it up with the Solgaleo? Or do you feel like it's best to just try to go ahead and get those first 2 energies on the Solgaleo? That is ultimately going to be what's going to happen in this match. Another thing I will say playing these matches, I do feel like you're really kind of hoping for, by the way, we drew basically perfectly there after the red card to be able to rare candy in the Solgaleo. I do feel like you're kind of relying on them not getting 3 of their Pokemon out there. So a lot of these matches, if they get that wall out there that's able to just be a wall and you have to just try to get through it with your Skarmory while they're pinging you with the Darkrai the whole time back on the bench and also building up a Giratina on the bench. I feel like those ones are pretty challenging to win, but whenever they stumble a little bit, they've only got 2 Pokemon out, and so they have to build up the energy on one of the front Pokemon, which you're then trying to race down before it's able to get, like, exactly what happened in this match. In this match, they were forced to try to build up that Giratina in the front because that was the only option they had, and we were able to take it out before they were able to actually get it all the way. So we kind of rushed them down a little bit too fast before they were able to get that ability to attack with both of the Pokemon, so they're only going to be able to hit with the Darkrai, and I was able to bring back the Solgaleo EX. And actually, I want you to notice something pretty cool here. We were able to actually switch the Solgaleo back to the bench while it still was able to keep 1 energy. Usually the retreat cost is 2, so if I didn't actually have the X speed in the deck, how would this have played out? We'd have to stop and think about it here, but because of the X speed specifically, I'm actually able to bring the Solgaleo back, hit with the Skarmory to finish off the Giratina, then I can bring my Solgaleo EX in, and it's safely resting at this comfortable little 130 HP, getting the first attack on the Darkrai. Still a pretty close match, but if I hadn't had that X speed, what would have happened in this match? Let me know in the comments if you want to sit down and think hard about that one. I will say, even though the Giovanni, I feel like, is going to be very meta dependent on if you're able to get these 60 HP first attack kills, the X speed, on the other hand, I feel like maybe you could make a case for at least 1 X speed in just any standard Solgaleo deck, because I really did feel like I found myself running into this exact situation you saw in this match quite a bit, where I need to use 1 X speed in order to bring back a 2 energy Solgaleo up front to then bring a Skarmory in, use it to attack, and then I've still got 1 energy back on that Solgaleo on the bench, so it's ready to come right back out the next turn and attack again with that little Skarmory shield that you then put in front. So while I feel like my hyper-aggressive Giovanni version is maybe just a little bit more of a fun, not necessarily huge win rate compared to the normal version, I do wonder about including at least 1 X speed into any standard version of this deck that runs Skarmory. Let me know what you think in the comments. Here in this final match, I thought this would be a perfect match also to show, because it shows you basically the Skarmory versus Skarmory with the Giovanni action as well. Now, I could have led off with an X speed and then go ahead and get a hit in with a Skarmory, but I felt like there wasn't really any point in that. And instead, I opted to do exactly what I'm going to show you here. Here's what happens. I have my Skarmory up front. He attacks into my Rocky Helmet, taking 20, and then our Giovanni, and this is a mirror match you're going to face a lot in this game because this deck's everywhere, and then boom, I'm able to do 60. So now we traded Skarmories, but because of my Giovanni, my Skarmory lives through the exchange and his dies, which is another case that you could potentially make for Giovanni, I think, right now in this meta if you're facing a lot of this deck. If you're facing a lot of Darkrai Giratina decks, I don't think that Giovanni is probably going to do much of anything is my guess. Also, if you're playing a lot of these 60 HP starter decks, starter basic Pokemon decks, but they're all running a giant cape, then that's going to be another meta where I would say it's not really worth running this variant with the Giovanni. It only is probably going to really make sense in pretty much the meta that I've been playing so far in my Ultra Ball 3 fairly early month league matches, which is a lot of these Skarmory versus Skarmory Solgaleo mirrors where the Giovanni can randomly get that last 10 HP. Here we are again. Look what just happened again. This happens so often where you'll have a Rocky Helmet, you'll get the Skarmory down to 10 HP, and if you'd had the Giovanni, you could have finished it off. Or again, against these decks that this particular hyper-aggressive version is kind of designed for, which is things like these Litten decks trying to get the rare candy, Charmander decks trying to get the rare candy, and like Rockruffs trying to build a Rampardos on the bench. As long as they're not consistently, again, running those giant capes. If you notice that every time you go against them, they always use a giant cape, then, you know, it's probably not worth playing this deck. And so look what happened here. Because of that Giovanni, we did actually put ourselves in a position where if we would have just been a little bit more lucky in this match and been able to actually get the Solgaleo to use the rare candies, then I believe this match would have been a win. I feel like maybe we were actually a little bit unlucky at the end and it ended up being a loss. But if we just would have drawn the Solgaleo there, I think that would have been a win. Am I right? All because of the Giovanni inclusion that kind of breaks that mirror match sometimes. And with that, as always, let's wrap up the video with a quick discussion of the cards in the deck from top left to bottom right. We've got the 6 Pokemon that I think are always going to be there, 2 Cosmog, 2 Skarmory, and 2 Solgaleo. Like I said, I think the standard deck formulation is going to run one of the middle evolutions, probably a little bit more consistent, but I went ahead and went with this for this hyper-aggressive version. Similarly, I had to make a couple cuts, as I talked about, to fit in the 2 Giovanni and 2 X-Speed. That's kind of the whole point of the deck. Again, that's the point of this video, basically. 2 Rare Candy, of course, that's a no-brainer. You got to have it. 2 Rocky Helmet and 2 Poison Barb. We're just trying to get that 60 damage on our first attack as consistently as possible. And frankly, I just like having the 4 tools, and I just think they're really strong right now, personally. Especially, I'm just liking Poison Barb more and more. The more I play it, the more I like it. And then, of course, finishing the deck off with the 2 Professor's Research and 2 Pokeball. I think if you were going to make any changes, I think probably the first thing would be changing one of the X speeds to something else, like maybe a Sabrina, I feel like. I may try that as I finish out Ultra Ball Rank 3. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this little bit different, hyper aggressive version of the deck. And with that, that's the end of the video. If you like this type of video, please consider subscribing and liking, leaving a comment on the video, and even more importantly, since this is a new YouTube channel, let me know what you think of this format of the video and any ways you think I could potentially improve these kind of videos if you're interested in this kind of thing. Thank you, and see you later.